Okay, hey guys, it's Death93K. Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be, reviewing the game The Crew 2. As much as I don't like to say it, this channel has basically turned into a game review channel. The last, 3 or 4 videos that I've made have been game reviews. But every time I try to film something else, it turns out really badly, and I just, don't end up posting it. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, The Crew 2 is an open-world multiplayer racing game developed and published by Ubisoft in 2019, I believe. This game retails for, I believe, $80. I got it on sale for $20. That is kind of irrelevant, but whatever. So on to the first segment of the review. This game is set in the United States of America. If you don't know what that country is, I don't know where whatever. So they recreated this, the majority of, some of the highlights of the United States, such as Miami, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, that kind of thing. And the environment is actually surprisingly detailed, although many of the cities do feel kind of lifeless with the lack of traffic and people on the sidewalks. Now, this is not at all present while you're racing AI or other players, and as you can probably tell by the footage on screen, this isn't just a car racing game. You also have access to boats, off-road vehicles, trucks, dirt bikes, that kind of thing. And it really is just more of a motorsport game in general because there's all these sort of acrobatics or demolition derby or drift challenges that you can do. It's not just races, although for the majority it is races. So the controls for any of these vehicles aren't particularly great. The driving is nothing to frown upon, but it seems like something that would be in a game similar to Grand Theft Auto or something like that, just an open world game that's not entirely focused on cars, but they're not terrible driving mechanics, but it's nothing particularly special. Same with pretty much all the vehicles. The airplanes are very unrealistic, I can tell you this without having any doubts in my mind. They're just kind of ridiculously maneuverable and all that stuff. The boats, I've never driven a boat, I wouldn't know. I also have never flown an airplane. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. So the vehicle customization in this game is relatively extensive. It does kind of annoy me though because to upgrade a vehicle you need to complete races that involve that vehicle to unlock more parts for it, etc., etc. But that means that if you bought a crappy vehicle but it was kind of expensive, you have to save up for an entirely new vehicle instead of just being able to upgrade it and then maybe win a couple races with it. So I may have already talked about this, I'm not entirely sure, but to an extent I mean, but the graphics in this game really do look relatively fantastic. They look pretty detailed and all this stuff. I'm just running on the default settings for my GTX 1050 graphics card, 2GB, but it really does look like a fantastic game. And once again, this is another one of those games where it looks great. It doesn't take too much processing power to run either. I believe I mentioned in my last review of Hitman 2 that I was watching a YouTube video in 1080p for 60 frames per second on my second monitor while I was playing this, and I wasn't doing the exact same thing this time. I was just running a couple other processes, and once again, this, as you can tell, it does look really fantastic, and I'm getting good frame rates from the game. Where this game really excels is actually not in the cities that this game was very hyped about having all these famed cities sort of around the United States, but the wilderness is, in my opinion, where this game really excels. So to finish off my review, I would just like to give my final opinion on this game and some stories or experiences that I've had playing this. So personally, I actually prefer the off-road sort of racing modes to the street races. I thought I was going to like the street races a lot. They looked really fun in the trailers and all the videos that I watched, but they're actually very difficult. I found that the AI could turn without drifting, and that sort of ruined it for the player because you have to turn using drifts a lot of the time, depending on which car you're using, and you end up crashing into things way more than any of the AI driven cars. But that's why I prefer things like motocross or off-road racing. They're just so much easier for me, and also airplane flying is pretty good. I actually also suck at the boat races, so that's fun to know, I guess. But my overall opinion of this game is it's a good game. Is it worth $80? Not even close. But it's a very good game. And again, I picked this up on sale for $20. I do believe that that's about how much it's worth. Depending on who you ask, I guess. I'm also not just like a racing game guy. Also, something I should mention is that if you're playing this with a keyboard and mouse, you don't want to get this. If you don't own a controller that you can hook up to your computer, it just makes it so much easier for any driving game, but especially this one with a controller. Keyboard and mouse just doesn't excel at that. I'm gonna give this game a solid 6 or 7 out of 10, 6.5, let's say. Being an interesting game, with some very good mechanics, but not my favorite racer by a considerable amount. But if you guys didn't notice, throughout the entire video, I've actually had a new microphone. Let me know if it's any better than the other microphone that I was using. That was just on a headset. This is like a whole separate microphone. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.